It was all in the script to get more views for the race.
You reckon? That's the conspiracy theory, yeah?
I definitely didn't tell him to do it. I told him not to do it in the race. But honestly, I like it.
Welcome back. We're here at the Kurhaus Hotel in the rather wonderful Lenzerheide. I'm joined in person by Neko Mulally, and Olly Morris has fled across the border and is back in the UK already. Olly, are you missing Lenzerheide? It's a pretty special place, eh?
I certainly am. Yeah, I'm missing the room you're in as well. I've definitely taken the short straw on this one, but yeah, had to rush home, unfortunately, from beautiful Lenzerheide. Fancied a little swim in the lake after the race, to be honest, but yeah, no time for that.
Fair play. Have you ridden it before, Olly?
Yeah, I've raced it a couple of times, and then obviously ridden the bike park a few times. Well, me and Neko kind of have to ride the bike park, don't we, to get down the side of the hill? So we get a bit of fun there.
How is it? Yeah, I heard the track down is actually all right. It's like a blue trail, but it's kind of fun. Yeah,
it's super cool. The berms are all so well shaped, and it's got a cool flow to it where it like rises and falls, and yeah, it's one of the best bike parks in Europe, I think. Yeah, I found a couple other cool trails in the valley here too this week. Got out for more rides than normal because the weather was so nice. I think this was the nicest weather we've had of any race this year. It was like perfect temperature all weekend, and I think this is my favorite venue. It's just so nice here.
It is pretty special, isn't it? Yeah, we're kind of spoiled with this one. Let's kick off with the headlines. We're doing it a bit differently this week, and I wanted to talk about Ryan Pinkton first, Olly. I mean, obviously not ideal. Like, he's fully gutted. I saw a little interview with him this morning, but he knows that was the winning run, and you can do the maths. And as long as his sector one was good, which I think it was, like, he regrouped incredibly well and took what would have been a winning run had he not had that start gate issue.
Yeah, I mean, that run was insane, wasn't it? And how to, like, the resilience to like recover after just, well, let's be honest, probably something quite embarrassing. As much as you're going to be annoyed about your run, but it's quite an embarrassing moment, isn't it? Like, kind of get out the start gate kind of thing, and then to overcome from that, and then just open up the tap, and then just keep like building, and obviously it was, you know, across the other sectors was the fastest run of the day, wasn't it? So yeah, it was pretty insane. You got to feel for him, and I just think in sport, isn't it? Why do these freak accidents happen in sport? You know, like the umbrella moment with Henry earlier in the season, and this, like, it just, like, this never happens at home, does it? I'm sure Ryan, I mean, I guess he doesn't have that gate at home, but like, you know, these kind of freak accidents are so isolated to key moments when you're probably about to win your first World Cup or whatever, you know?
Yeah, very strange.
It was all in the script to get more views for the race.
You reckon? That's the conspiracy theory, yeah?
No, it's interesting. It's like, once that happened to him, I think two things probably clicked. Like, one, he was free of the pressure at that point, and then two, he was pissed off. So he kind of took it out on the track, and yeah, it's got to give him some confidence to look back at all those sector times. And the one thing too is, it's not like he was a minute down at the first split. Like, he was 5 seconds down with laying on the side of the start gate. So he obviously rushed through the first sector. He didn't like slow down and then try to get the fastest splits. And yeah, quite clearly would have won the race.
Yeah,
so
it's coming. It's exciting to see. And Neko, I think Luca had the pace as well, right?
Yeah, it looked like it. Amaury was constantly losing time in that fourth sector, and then the fifth one from the last split to the finish was pretty fast. So Luca probably would have been similar. Like, he's really good at that open bike park stuff, and I guess Amaury just didn't really hit that section with the wall drop very well, which is why most riders were gaining time on him in that section. And I think in that section where Luca slid out, he was about a second off. So it's possible that he could have matched from there to the finish. But I guess we'll never know. But I also saw an interview with him where he was like, yeah, I'm proud of myself for going for it. If I was going to win, I had to try, and just bummed that it went down like that. But it's part of racing.
Yeah, it's been quick. He's been quick all season, but it's the first time it's really felt like he had race-winning pace in him, which it's got to be a good feeling. Okay, it didn't come together, but he knows he's there.
I think the track really suited Luca. a combination of him being like really calm and patient on the bike. I think this track rewarded that because it was deceptive how little grip there was. And in a sense where like small margins are so valuable on this track, him having that like really calm, not rushing things riding style, I think paid off. Plus there was like quite a few sections where he had to be strong on the bike and like accelerate it up to speed. And he's normally pretty good on that and always really good on the motorway stuff. So yeah, I think it was a good track for him, and it could have happened. It just wasn't meant to be yesterday.
One day for sure. Ollie, what are we saying about qualifying run backflips?
Please have more, like encourage him to do them all the time. I was speaking to Steve Peak Trackside, and I was like, I actually got the iPhone clip of him doing it just randomly this was in practice, just randomly there as I was passing through, and got this iPhone clip, and I shared it with one of the media guys, and then it went wildfire around the pits. And then I was trackside with Steve, showing him, saying, "Come on, let's get Jackson up there. He's got to go and do it again," and stuff like that. So I think we need it. Like we're missing Cade, aren't we? We love the racing more than anything, and it's so exciting at the moment for sure. But yeah, remember it's still a freestyle sport as well. It's still a sport where it's about fun, and we want to see people pushing boundaries. And fair play to Asa. Did you tell him to do it, Neko, or was it team orders or what?
I definitely didn't tell him to do it. I told him not to do it in the race. But honestly, I like it. Like on multiple levels, like from a performance standpoint, I think it kept it fun for him all weekend and gave him like something that was a distraction from all the pressure. That was like an exciting little piece of the weekend. So that I think that ended up translating to positive mindset and like good vibes around the weekend for him. And then also if I switched to my Frameworks marketing department hat, I opened social media and everything I saw was Asa doing a backflip, which is pretty cool to do. So yeah, on both sides, I think it was good.
And his race run, let's face it, was incredible. And I'm pretty sure I heard you say on the broadcast to him when you hugged him in the finish, you had time for the backflip, dude. Yeah,
and I mean, his biggest competition, Max, had a slow leak, I think. That's what Thibaut told me. But his run didn't look like it was going perfectly before that. So I don't think he would have had time for a backflip if Max had a good run. But I think he would have probably beat Max yesterday anyway. But yeah, it was just try to keep it fun at the finish line. And
yeah,
he was stoked. It was really good for him. It's been a long time coming this year. Like I was looking at the overall for the junior, and he was 10, 5, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2, 1. So I was like, dude, we got to keep that trend going in that same trajectory.
Insane. And very, very close to the elite win, like 0.0 something off being the fastest person of the day, and a huge margin in a very talented junior field. I know there was a few issues in there, but like that's got to be a massive confidence boost.
Yeah, I think it was just the right things lined up yesterday. He's not as confident in the mud races. Where he lives in Colorado, he doesn't ever practice it. The only time he practices mud is when he comes to Europe at a race, in a race practice. So he needs to get better at that. And he knows that he needs to go ride in it if it's an off week or if there's a chance to ride in the mud. But the conditions were ones that he was confident in. He was enjoying the track generally. There was good vibes around it. And the run that he executed looked really good. If you go back and watch it, like his riding was top class, I'd say.
Yeah.
And it's always hard to compare the elite times. Like he was in the pit, like, yeah, I was 0.1 off Amaury. And I was like, yeah, you were, but it's a lot harder to do that when you're up there at the very end with him. So we'll see next year, but you can't take some confidence from it, but it's still hard to actually translate that.
Yeah. Keeping them grounded. Well done, mate. Ollie, let's talk a bit about that battle. Jackson had, by his standards, a bad weekend. Finishing 25th, that mistake, pretty costly. He's lost the overall lead. I think they were literally neck and neck after qualies going into the finals. Bruni again didn't fully capitalise on that. Like, I think he was going for a better result and was a bit annoyed with fifth. But yeah, interesting to see Jackson falter and Bruni again to just keep doing what he does and putting down solid results.
Yeah, it's obviously a super exciting story that's kind of playing out this year with those two totally different style riders, two riders in different ends of their careers, different nations. Like there's you could call them opposites, you know, and they're both kind of going into race run. I think they're on exactly the same amount of points, weren't they, after quali?
Yeah.
So it was, what an exciting story. And yeah, I guess Jackson's in the world champs jersey, and people say that there's sort of like, maybe that's not always the luckiest jersey to be wearing for World Cups, and that evidence this weekend, didn't it, with that mistake? I'd like to say with somebody else, I'd probably say that it was something to do with pressure that caused that crash. But from what I know of Jackson, I don't think it was. I think it was just a genuine mistake. He's pushing hard every single week. Obviously, I mean, seeing him at the top, it was insane. So yeah, he's pushing hard. He's, mistakes are going to happen. You can't do a whole season without. Unless your name's Loic Bruni, apparently, because he can do whole seasons without those mistakes, can't he? So, again, he was I think his top couple of sectors were really, really hot. And actually, when watching it, I think from what he's saying afterwards, maybe this isn't the case, but when watching it, I was thinking, maybe he had a little bit of sort of the championship in mind. But apparently he still wants those wins, and understandably he's a very hungry racer.
Yeah, interesting to see that battle go for the rest of the year, hopefully. And Neko, Tahnée Seagrave's first split demolition strategy paid off this week, and she took an impressive win.
Yeah, it was really good. She we didn't see a ton of that first split on the broadcast because they used a lot of drone footage, but she was just well ahead of everyone else, built a pretty big margin. And then the rest of her run was just textbook hit her marks, no mistakes. I think she had one little stall up, but nothing too major. And just executed the run really well. And it was interesting because the past couple races, it was like going the other way, where Valley would be really fast at the top and then kind of calm down towards the bottom and manage the run. And this time it was Tahnée that took it out of the start fast and managed to hold that margin all the way to the finish.
Yeah, Valley looked understandably pretty upset about it. It feels like it's getting to her, this seeming inability to win a World Cup at the minute, even though the pace is clearly there with her, right?
Yeah, I've not talked to her, so I'm not really sure what's going through her mind, but she's got a lot of things to balance, championship, and she's got more to lose than anybody else does, so it's always tougher.
Yeah, and that I would agree, that lack of footage of the top split was a bit frustrating for me watching the broadcast. Like, I don't like those overhead shots. You just can't tell what the rider's doing, really. You can't differentiate anything, I don't think. Like, okay, you're showing us the run, but I'd like to see a bit more, because the rest of the track was pretty well covered, I thought.
Yeah, if you're really into the details of the sport, it's harder to tell with those shots. Like, they look pretty cool, especially a venue like this. It's a beautiful landscape, but I was trying to squint and see what maybe a front tire push from the satellite cam was hard to tell.
Yeah, it's not the one, is it? It's not the one. And Olly, I spotted Oshene wearing a plain Troy Lee kit, not his YT kit, with the the Irish sleeve safety pinned onto it. I guess a bit of a protest. Maybe enough's enough with what's going on at YT. It's been a tough year for that crew, hey, with the challenges that the business are facing. Yeah,
there's, obviously it's the whole story is sad there, isn't it? People are losing jobs, not just racers. There's a depth of this, isn't there, kind of thing, that is actually really quite sad, I guess. You know what I mean, in terms of people's livelihoods. Obviously, then in terms of a really big brand and the ripple effect that has on the industry is huge. So there's kind of lots going on there. In terms of Oshene, we're hearing plenty of rumours of what's kind of going on, what's happening next with the team, all the rest of it. And I guess it hasn't been confirmed what's happening next with the brand yet. So I think there's loads going on. protest, maybe it is sign of what's to come next for him. Maybe it's that as well, but otherwise not too sure, other than maybe a few rumours here and there.
Yeah, shame he got a flat very, very high up, I think, because I think there was some performance in that lad this week. Well, there always is, but I think we might have seen a good result from him. But there we go. Let's take it back to basics. Sorry, go on, Ollie.
No, I was just going to say, I think he's definitely struggling, I think, like mentally with all of this that's going on. He's a young lad. This is all very new to him, like he just thought he had a job and he had a contract and off he went kind of thing. So I think he's having to adjust to the change, if you know what I mean. He will, and he'll bounce back, and we know how fast he is. But I think you have to be fully in the game, don't you? That's with your motivation and your drive, especially in this day and age. You can't just roll down the hills anymore, as we're seeing from all of those runs across all the categories. And I think it must be hard with like motivation and stuff like that. So the fire's definitely not gone from him. It's maybe just slightly dampened a little bit until he gets things confirmed, which I think he'll have very soon, because he's such a talented guy and an awesome person.
Yeah, good to hear, man.
I think bad luck with the flat for sure. Maybe this stuff was on his mind more in Leger, and then Champery, I know he was like thinking more about the overall, because he's top 5 in the overall before this weekend and in touch to 3rd place. So he didn't want to risk too much in Champery. But then this weekend just didn't really show what he was capable of with the flat, which was definitely a bummer.
Let's talk a little bit about the track, Ollie. Give us your thoughts on the track here, because people will tell you it's a bike park track, it's a bit easy, it's really short. But actually, it always provides really good racing. There was some fair margins to be had in places as well. And there's actually quite a bit going on, I think. Like, it's not an easy track to get a good, fast, top to bottom run on.
It is not easy. It's actually very technical, and especially in these conditions, very loose track to ride. Those key bike park sections, where they're just obviously sending it, overshooting the jumps through like a normal everyday bike park. But it's definitely not an easy track to ride. And also, and I think probably riders on my team went into this weekend thinking it wasn't a physical track as well. And I didn't see a rider get to the bottom of that track that wasn't absolutely shattered. Like it's a super physical track. I think made physical as well, because there's actually, like, especially in the top sort of half of the track, there's only like 3-4 key exit points, or exit out of turns that really matter, and then it's a matter of holding on to that speed, dealing with the speed, and seeing if you can kind of obviously hold it through the next section. But because they're so important, the energy that's needed, either in pumping, pedaling, whatever you're doing to generate your speed, is super high. So you have those moments where your heart rate's spiking from getting up to speed again out of those turns. The obvious one is out of the sort of off-camber route section at the top, and then onto that kind of flat bit before it came into the sort of first bike park section. But you've already had kind of another one of those further near the top as well. So I think it's like these big spikes of energy to get yourself up to speed, and then it's a matter of holding on to it through the rest of it. So yeah, it is a bike park. Obviously, I mean, it's bike kingdom, isn't it? It's as they call it. So it's that's what it is. But it definitely doesn't ride like it in rain or shine. It's a technical, physical, demanding track. And as you saw, like the results again this week, actually we've had it most weeks, I guess, but they're turned on their head again, aren't they, from different riders, that this track played into their hands.
Yeah, definitely. Neko, give us your thoughts. Like, what were you up to lines wise? What were riders looking at? What was the points of like decision making for you guys?
The more technical sections is where myself and we also had Anna's boyfriend Max here this weekend helping our team out. So we had 2 people, which was super handy to get videos on track. I was at that top off camber section most of the first day, and then the steep wood section, and then the wall section at the end. So those are like the 3 most technical parts of the track, and those are the parts that we focused on the most. I definitely got to the other sections to see what was going on, but there wasn't a ton of line choice. Maybe in that first off camber there was, but outside of that, it was more minor details, like being a few centimeters to the left or right with your tire, your braking, like how you were hopping over stuff on the track, like vertically, or your rhythm on the track. I always found when I raced here, it was really hard because it went in and out of the trees so much, and it went from some of the fresher off-camber, like loamy sections with natural terrain back to the hard-packed bike park, and the sun beating on the trail, which was pretty dry. And then in the woods, it's so dark and humid that the dirt could be actually pretty muddy or wet in there. And then the change in vision too, from going to light to dark. I thought it was always hard to connect that stuff because your feel for the ground wasn't consistent through the whole run, and knowing your level of grip and how hard to push and your input to the bike on each section was a little different. So I always found this one challenging because it's also about really small margins on this track. Like the racing is always so tight, and there's not these huge technical things to separate people. So those minor details can mean a lot of positions.
Yeah, and Olly, I guess that played into the fact that Q1, Q2 was another kind of pretty up in the air battle again. In fact, both the elite winners went through Q2.
Yeah, it was. The Q2 is definitely the harder one to it, isn't it? We said it. There is not a race where we've said that it sort of Q1 was as it should be. Is that Q2 is always the more difficult one, and I think it's because it is a hard one to figure out. I think there's also this thing where you can think you're fast enough on this track. You can sort of stand there and be rolling along and think you're going all right, but it's definitely one of those tracks. It's not like Andorra, but similar to Andorra in the way that you have a speed and then you have the speed that's required to actually go really well, and that's what makes it hard. I think also echoing what Neko's saying about the changes of track, it makes it quite hard. And I noticed this from the riders I've been working with, that they found it quite hard to almost build that flow of the track because it had a different type of flow in every section you did. So you almost had to find the flow of the section and then rechange and refine the next timing and rhythm and flow for the next section kind of thing. So I think that's why it kind of gave a bit of a stir to the qualifying sessions and obviously the finals as well.
Yeah. All right, we'll talk a bit about junior women. Rosemarie Jensen kind of back on form. She clipped that apex pad, Neko, pretty hard, leaving the off-camber section at the top of the track, and made a few other mistakes that definitely lost her a little bit of time. But third place, and good to see her back kind of towards the top end because she's an incredibly talented rider that I don't think we've seen the best of just yet.
Yeah, definitely not seen the best of her. She did really well at that opening round, taking the win, and then had an injury that slowed her progression this season. I think otherwise she'd be right in the mix with Alitha and Rosa Zeal. I think qualifying first definitely gave her some confidence. So not a bad weekend and a step in the right direction. And hopefully just with some more races under her belt, she'll keep improving.
Yeah. And then Olly, Alitha, I thought aggressive as we kind of expect from Alitha. She's got that approach, I would say, but also fairly well finessed because this track, I don't think you can be too aggressive, certainly in spots. Yeah,
it's a very fine balance, isn't it? Like I say, and as I said earlier, but that balance does have to change throughout the run. Like what a run she put down. It's worth just mentioning as well that the top, we speak a lot about the top 5 men and how their times match in the men's field, but the top 5 women would all be in the top 10 in elite women's field as well. So the times there are absolutely insane. And I know, and Neko's right in what he's saying in terms of, but when you're standing at the top next to a Valley and a Marine and all these guys, yes, the pressure's different, but that's taking nothing away from Alitha. And like I say, that top 6 actually, if I'm to be exact, would all slid into the top 10 in elite women's. So it's insane to see that group pushing, and it's going to be good luck to them, the elites next year, or when those guys go through.
Yeah, and then Rosa Zeal, Neko, taking the top spot yet again. Really not a name that I kind of knew much about at the start of this season. She's really stamping her name all over this year, and it's great to watch her on track. Like such a naturally talented rider. Big gap, 3.1 to second place, and I think fastest female time of the weekend. Yeah,
that was really good. Watching her on track, she makes the track look easy. She rides so smoothly, avoids mistakes, carries really good speed, high average speed everywhere, doesn't do anything too crazy, doesn't get out of shape and look too aggressive on the track. But that obviously is translating really well for her. And yeah, I didn't know much about her. I'd known that there was going to be a pretty stacked junior women's field this year with, obviously Ellie Hulsbosch returning and for Syndicate this year. And then Aletha coming in for Canyon and both Rosas. So yeah, I knew that there was going to be like 4 junior girls on big factory teams, which is exciting to see them supporting them that way. And it's going to be another battle again next year, because aside from Ellie, the rest of them are first year juniors, so they're going to even progress further.
Yeah, it's exciting to watch for sure. Let's talk about the junior men then, Ollie, and it wasn't a straightforward weekend for the hour rounds this time around.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's nice, but it's funny not to be speaking about them at the top, isn't it? And I'm sure it's nice for Neko in this way, but still next to each other, but in 4th and 5th this weekend, so slightly different than normal. Obviously, I spend most of the weekend trackside, and whether this has nothing to do with it, because obviously based off the fact that there was mechanicals involved is why they are probably not closer to the top. But yeah, I didn't see as much of them this weekend. Normally it's like every single clip I send down to my team is them, and they get almost annoyed. They're like, yeah, can you sort of like share some other riders, please, you know? But this weekend definitely saw a little less of them. I don't know what was going on there. May have just been a coincidence, but the glazing on the Alrans wasn't happening for our team, even from an early stage. Yeah, but taking nothing away. I mean, with Max himself, obviously he was still posting the top splits. He was still, up there until he was it a puncture? Did we say at the bottom there, or losing a bit of air? I think, wasn't it? So just losing that time at the bottom, but I'm sure they'll bounce back. And
Neko, another good run from Ollie Clark. Like potentially thought at one point of the afternoon that could be the winning run, but super good to see.
Yeah, and he's been right up there at every race, actually really consistent. It's just the level in that category is so high. Like on a normal year with the normal competition level in junior, he'd be winning multiple races on the podium every weekend. But just with so many fast juniors, like he finds himself in 4th or 5th a lot. And it was really good to see him make it up on the podium this weekend.
Yeah, and George Madlier was on the pace as well, right? Like that huge over the bars in the end kind of took him out of contention, but that could have been a pretty serious run, a podium run for sure.
For sure, and I think similar to what I said about Luca being a more patient, calm riding style, that was rewarded on this track this weekend.
Yeah, interesting. Ollie, thoughts on John T. Williamson? That was an impressive run, and especially through that like notorious wall section, he looked really smooth through there.
Yeah, he's an absolute insane pilot, isn't he? And again, typical Kiwi, but just doesn't mind going any speed that's required. I think a Kiwi plus junior equals pretty crazy, doesn't it? It seems to be the sort of like mixing pot there. What a ride again. And it's almost like, Asa and the Aurans almost like messing it up for the others, aren't they? As Neko's saying for Ollie, same for Jonty, and he's an insane rider. It would be great to see him get one of these wins. And he's getting closer, as we're seeing here. We still got 2 more, so you never know.
Yeah, and a flat for Tyler Waite unfortunately took him out of contention. We saw a lot of people struggling to keep air in tyres this weekend, lots of pointy rocks on this track. But we know that Neko's pretty stoked with Ace's performance. But Ollie, what was your take on it?
We just need to talk about the backflip, don't we? That was the performance as far as I'm concerned. No, it's actually he's had a I think actually quite a clever year this year. He's got the ride. Neko's looking after him. He's the Red Bull athlete. He's won the Red Bull hardline. He's put his name out there. Does he have to be getting all of these wins right now? No, he actually doesn't. I think it's more important that he's learning loads for when you're in the big show. As much as Junior World Cup is big, it's not the big show yet. And and we obviously glorify it still, but back in the day there wasn't even a junior category. So I think actually if he's making sure he's taking all these learning points through the season, that's more important than probably getting this win. I think the win for him is definitely going to be like the confidence thing, as Neko said, showing he's doing the similar speed to Amaury, and that's the confidence thing that you can go, okay, cool, I can turn up next year and go and do this. But yeah, like I say, I think it hasn't been the perfect season for him in terms of sweeping up, like maybe some people thought, but it's definitely been a huge year for him. As long as he's taking in all these little bits, which I'm sure Neko's making sure he is, then yeah, he's going to have a very successful career, quite obviously.
Yeah,
I think he was happy to be out of the World Champs jersey. Actually, I think he felt more free without it, like almost like, oh, the pressure's on them now, it's off of me a bit.
Yeah.
Even like mentally, like obviously there's nothing to that. Like the jerseys are the same. It's just that little mental switch maybe helped him a little bit and gave him a fresh restart. And yeah, as Olly said, like the season hasn't been great results wise, and I almost think this pressure associated with junior World Cup racing it's almost worse. Like I remember when I was racing against Troy, it was like if you didn't win, it was a failure. And if you're an elite and we both did well, then everybody was happy with it.
Yeah. Okay.
And since Val di Sole, so like the past 5 races, Asa and Max's time would have been top 5 of the day, and that they would both be super stoked with that. But we're now in the 9th round, 8th or 9th round, 8th round, and it was the first win that Asa got this season. So I think that pressure situation is going to make him better in the future. It's going to make him stronger going into the next year. And he's learning a lot of lessons that he would learn transitioning to elite that he's able to learn at an earlier stage in junior.
We'll move on to elite women, and it was good to see Phoebe Gale up there in 6th. She's had a bit of an up and down season, so good to see her kind of getting back to where we'd expect to see her. But we'll start off with Sasha Ernest, Neko. Sasha, I think, was pretty battered and bruised and fairly heavily taped up, according to Josh in the commentary. So to see her up there in 5th with a good run is impressive, and it's good because there's a lot of talent there, obviously, in the juniors, and again, maybe someone we've not quite seen the best of yet this season, or certainly not since her elite transition.
Yeah, she's definitely had a rough go at it this year with crashes and just not putting her best effort. She's putting her best effort in, but that's not translating to the results in the elite category. So I think she really needed this. I think sometimes for a rider like that one result that kind of gives you some positive momentum and some hope again, and you have the results sheet to show that you can actually do it, can make a big difference. So yeah, really good for her to put that down in both qualifying and finals, and hopefully takes that momentum and translates it.
Yeah, exciting stuff. And then Olly, we should talk about Gracie Hemstreet. I mean, 4th place, but she's come from hospital to 4th place. I didn't realise, but she had a pretty massive crash earlier in the week, been for x-rays and checkups, and she still executed a pretty solid run come race day.
Yeah, literally from hospital, wasn't it? There was a point in the weekend I'd heard she was out, like that she wasn't coming back to ride the next day, So to come back and then still post a top 5 shows where she is in terms of her ability, speed, and confidence. And also on a track that maybe you wouldn't put it in her like strengths, if you know what I mean. And I don't like to do that too much with riders, but you'd say maybe it's not quite technical enough, not quite enough line choice for her to really sort of like be sort of showing her technical ability on the bike. So yeah, to do that, lay down a 4th, I think she's got to be very happy with that, and it's good for the points, obviously, which is going to be very important for her. And yeah, fair play. I spoke a few years ago about this, but I think the women are braver and harder than the men when it comes to crashing and then still riding. I think a few men might have like just packed up for the weekend after that. But hey, fair play to her.
Yeah, fair. And Valley Hole in 3rd, we talked a little bit about that at the start of the show. Probably not where she'd want to be, but keeps the title hopes alive. So she's doing what she needs to do there. And then Nina Hoffman in 2nd, like super close, 0.0 something off of Tahnée in 1st place. I saw Nina have a fairly big off-track excursion in her final practice run in the morning up top, where we had the satellite cameras showing us the action, which can't help, can it, coming into your finals run when the last time you rode around that corner you ended up in the bushes basically.
Yeah, that can definitely put off the confidence a bit when you go to visualize your run. It's hard not to remember that last experience you had there. But she looked really aggressive in the run. She always does. I mean, she normally goes for it pretty hard. And looked visibly more aggressive than Tahnée, and the times it was interesting to see like the two different riding styles and then the time be exactly the same for both of them.
Yeah, it is impressive. And Olly, Tahnée was open about it being the week before her period and that being like an energy low for her and not the easiest of weeks. So to put down a run like that and to take that win is going to mean even more for her, I guess.
Yeah, clearly she had to kind of dig even deeper kind of thing. And I think, I mean, that's actually a whole subject. We obviously working with many women before, like there's actually a lot of research around period and how that can impact you both negatively, but there's also research to how it can positively as well, and how it can change, obviously, behaviourally in terms of giving some more fire. There's various research around that. I think that's probably not for this podcast, but definitely is really, really interesting because it's one of the obviously the fundamental differences between how men will obviously manage a week and manage their race seasons, should we say, versus women. So yeah, one thing I've got to say, that top sector, she was only, I think, well, she was like 5 seconds back off the fastest male on that top sector, and it's a minute long, that sector, or thereabouts, obviously. And that is very, very rare the women get that close to the men, but what it means to me is they're getting closer, and I think that's really, really cool. And I think we've got to keep. Chris Kilmurray's got to be the man that does the stats on that one, because he's the stats guy, isn't he? But we've got to keep a track on that and how they're getting closer, because that top sector there was insane. I almost didn't even believe it, because the day before, the women on my team were running closer to 10 seconds off that, like a minute. They improved by race. But when I saw her on a 49, I thought I was going to radio up and be like, you got to find quite a bit on that first minute or 50 seconds of track. So, yeah, fair play to Tahnée. They throw everything into it. And actually, I was paying a close attention to Tony. And his team at the bottom, and their attention to detail is really, really high. The work they do with Fox. Tony was telling them which way round the helmets needed to be when they're on the hot seat. He was making sure they had goggles. Like, I a lot of respect for that, because that's the additional bit that brands are after, and Tony and obviously Tahnée and the team are really delivering on that. So yeah, big respect to the whole setup, and obviously huge respect to Tahnée's win there.
Yeah, super cool to see. We'll move from there onto the elite men, Neko. And Olly mentioned the women being a bit harder maybe when it comes to crashing, but Jordan Williams did a pretty good job of showing that he was pretty tough too. Like, that was a horrible place to crash. Casper had the same crash in the same place pretty much in junior men's. Huge to regroup, to get yourself back up the hill, dose up on whatever painkillers you need. Okay, he was 8 or 9 seconds off in the end, but like, props to him for getting back up there and giving it a go, because I think he's really back on the bubble again.
Yeah, I didn't see the crash until after the race was over, and I think in the commentary they mentioned that he had a crash in the morning, and we couldn't really see anything like major mistakes from his run while he would be down. And after watching that video, I was impressed that he even made it up to race, and like, props to him for tough and taking some concrete pills and getting up there and going for it. But that was a huge crash.
Yeah, insane. And hopefully Casper's all right as well. I've not heard anything, but
I saw actually on his Instagram page that he said that he was okay.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it looked like he crashed into the TV tower on the other side.
I think he hit the camera tower. Yeah.
You could hear it like on the junior broadcast. You could hear him like he'd knocked the wind out of himself. He was trying to catch his breath, and didn't sound too good at all.
No, it was horrible. Yeah, I was glad when they cut away that audio stream, because it's you never want to hear people struggling like that. Olly, let's talk about Danny Hart. Into finals, 8th place on his birthday. It's really, really good to see Danny back kind of towards the sharper end of things. I know he's been through a lot of work to get where he wants to be and where he knows he can be. And I'm wondering whether we'll see him back interfering with the title battle again towards the end of the season, because he's got history.
He's, if you think about it, Danny came through years and years and years ago, it seems like now, but he came through as one of those generational talents. He obviously got a world championship in his early years. And with that, sometimes that means that it's kind of, I don't want to say comes easy to you, but you haven't, sometimes riders, when they're that good that early, they don't know what the hard graph bit is like, the actual, how do I really make sure I'm at the top? So that's why I think Tahnée, as he's now in his, later years as an athlete, I think to see him put the amount of work and energy into the preparation, obviously the race, everyone's putting energy into it, but the amount of time and effort he's putting into it is really, really clear. And you just have to speak to his team, Greg and Alan, and they're confirming how much how much he's putting in. And it's that there's almost they're kind of like, crikey, it's almost like how much effort they feel sorry for him that he's not getting maybe the results that he deserves from that effort. Going to then this weekend for him, so Lenzerheide, he has won it here. I know once because I was there, and maybe even more than that. But he's definitely won it here before. He knows this track well. It hasn't changed massively, or fundamentally, it's the same kind of track. So he's learned how to win here, and that's actually a huge thing. We spoke about how different tracks demand a different kind of ride approach. Style, and Tahnée remembers the style and the ride approach that's needed for this to then deliver an insane run. I think that run years ago probably would have been a podium, right? But in this day and age, and the intensity of some of the younger lads like Henry and those guys coming through, it's going to be hard to be on the podium. But top 10 now is I say top 10's the new top 5.
Yeah, pretty much is. Yeah, Andy Colbin 7th. I know he was frustrated with that, which shows kind of the level that he's expecting from himself now, which is cool to see. And then Reignited Pierron in 5th place. Neko, that guy, his consistency this year has been really impressive. I mean, he's always a great rider to watch, but I can't remember back far enough to remember him being quite this consistent.
Yeah, and on a variety of tracks too. I think this one's pretty different from what we normally expect him to be good on. Obviously, us as line guys on the track are watching the more technical parts normally, and he's always impressive through there. The harder it is, the better he is. But this terrain was a lot different than I expect him to be good when it's steep and when it's muddy. Those are his two things that he's kind of the best at, I would say. And this track, he was so impressive through the more technical spots, like the off camber at the top on the first day, and then the wall at the end. He was one of the first guys I saw jump on and jump off the wall without having to pull high at all. He was so low to the ground as he did it. And it's just so impressive to see the level of commitment he has towards the most difficult sections of the track.
Yeah, I love watching that guy ride a bike. It's always good. Go on, Ollie.
It's worth just noting, I was just looking at Remy's splits quickly then as you were talking, because the one steep section is sector 3, and he jumped from 13th place at sector 2 down to 7th place by the time he got through sector 3. So you're exactly right. He's still got his he still bumped himself up the field, definitely, from the speed he went through that steep section. And I'm going to watch that again later because it was absolutely insane.
Yeah, and another incredible rider to watch, Ollie, is Ronan Dunn, and that the top part of the track felt a little bit like the old, slightly more reckless Ronan Dunn, maybe, and then maybe a bit more calculated towards the bottom. But yeah, super impressive ride from Ronan.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, no, he's finding himself up there every week now, isn't he? Which is something that not many riders can actually say, because it's so hard, as we know, with the strength and depth. So yeah, to see him up there again in a great result is absolutely awesome. His commitment, I even think his technique is actually improving on the bike. I think a couple of years ago, his ride, he'd entered a riding style with trying to be very low on the bike, and then maybe wasn't using his legs quite as well. And from what I'm seeing more recently, the way he's moving on the bike, as in moving his limbs to keep his torso more stable, seems to be improving. I don't watch him closely. I don't work with him, so I can't confirm that. But just from seeing from the races, and if seeing him at Dovey and stuff like that around the UK at some of the bike parks, so he works hard. We know how many laps he does. If he doesn't, we don't hide that. He's always thinking about what he's doing. If he's not in the gym, he's on the bike. If he's not on the bike, he's on a motocross bike. He's throwing everything in the game, and I have huge respect for that. So great to see him up there again. And I think in the commentary was somebody saying that he was, it maybe even been you, Neko, but somebody saying that he was, he didn't want to be that guy who just had too long after his first win, and obviously he's had two now, and I can see more dropping over the next few years. I don't think he has to worry about that too much.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see more from that lad for sure. And then Lockie Stevens-McNabb in third, Neko. He's had a kind of up and down season. Really good to see him back at that sharp end. Finished off last season super well. And he was one of, and I think it was Asa, the only other person to kind of gap off that bit of grass and downside that roller coming out of the open after the big booter into the woods, which was a pretty cool line.
Yeah, it looked like a good line. It's kind of a straightforward section, so we never really watched lines there or anything, but I remember Asa saying that he was surprised more of the top guys didn't do it because it set you up well for the next section. And yeah, Lockie, he's had a couple, he had 2 fourths this year, I think.
Yeah, probably.
He was really close to the podium several times, and I guess he's more hot and cold because he crashes at times, and I remember a couple rounds where he was pretty banged up on race day. I think that's more what's stopping him from being consistent than anything else. But normally when he's on in finals, he's right up at the front. So yeah, good to see him get on the podium. I think he definitely deserves it.
Yeah, a bit of momentum towards the end of the season. So
yeah,
it'd be good to see what we get from this guy towards the end. And then another guy that's really coming on song, Olly, is Henry Kiefer. Definitely a breakthrough season. He had that incredible result early in the year. He's then taken silver medal at World Champs, and that confidence is rolling. Like his self-belief, you can feel that growing every interview I see with the guy.
Yeah, he's got plenty of self-belief, hasn't he? But some, self-belief comes from many different areas, and for him, it comes from the amount of detail he puts into the game. The amount he looks into everything, not just at races but before the races, I think is what gives him that self-belief that he's like, well, I've ticked all the boxes, so therefore I should be winning this thing. So it's a good technique to use to gain some self-belief. Not have any doubt in what you've done leading up to the event. So yeah, he's riding insane, and his top speed, when he gets to his top speed, which like in Lenzerheide was kind of the last couple of sectors, when he gets there, it's unbelievable, and that's what I think he can do, is he can just hit that maximum speed. If he does that on every sector one day, like we maybe see like a big gap again, which we see less of nowadays, because when he hits it, it's crazy. Looking at he was kind of 8th at the first couple of sectors, and then was second by sector 4, and then second obviously at the finish. Super impressive young rider. I have to say, when watching like Luca and Troy this weekend, I thought, they're going to be the faster canyon riders this weekend. And I even said that to Gabe at the bottom. I said, no, he was speaking about Henry, and I said, I think Troy looked amazing on track this weekend, but shows Henry's got that ability to deliver when it counts.
He's a class rider for sure, Neko, and he was only 0.4 off, and he had what looked like a mistake where you kind of rejoin the piste after the off-camber section. The scrub wall just didn't quite look right, and then he was super wide, clipped a pole, I think, and then gapped out on. There was maybe a little bit of cleanup up there that would have got him either a lot closer or the win.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, as Amaury said in his interview, there was more time on the track, so it seemed like a lot of guys that were going for it were making those small mistakes. So hard to say, if he didn't push on that hard, maybe he wouldn't have had the time that he did, so he had to go for it. And yeah, slight mistakes. I think almost every racer would look back and see places where they could potentially improve to have the perfect run, which seems pretty elusive. But no, you could see the confidence building on him through the year. Even that run with the umbrella gate, he put down it was kind of like Pinky, not to a winning level, but his time would have been good.
Yeah.
Once all that stuff happened, and I think he was like, okay, I'm confident I can be here. And then he got a podium the next weekend in Leo Gang, and then he looked really fast. The whole his demeanor changed after that. And then obviously the second half of the season with these 2 podiums in a row, 2 second places in a row, he's right up there. He's got to be stoked with that, and that confidence level and self-belief is just building.
Yeah, really exciting to see another young rider doing that. And then let's talk about Amaury Pierron, Neko. I mean, I spoke to another rider trackside who said to me, nobody wants this more than Amaury. And I think that's fair, right? He's all in and he's chasing it. He's had a rough season. He's still only a couple of months back from collarbone surgery, and finally got what he wanted.
Yeah, for sure. I think, maybe the past 2 races too being a little bit frustrating. Like he probably would have won in Leger if he didn't crash. Like he was pretty fast up until that point and looking really good on the bike. Then in Champery, he had looked one of the best, I'd say, in practice all weekend, and had a mechanical in the race run. I don't know if it was a rim or a tire issue, but lost pressure and wasn't able to put down his race run. So after those 2 kind of building the frustration, and I'm sure he really did want this really bad this weekend. And it may be a little bit more challenging even with the qualifying day not going the way that he envisioned it, having to go back up for Q2. But he turned that all around. He said a few times in the interview that he thought the top guys were going to take a lot of time off it. I think on a track like that, as a racer, those small mistakes can feel like an eternity. And I'm sure he did have a few sections that he didn't quite carry the speed that he was planning to, and thinking that those top guys would be able to. And it just seemed like one after another, guys had flat tires or would crash, or just go for it and make a little mistake that would keep him off the mark. So he dodged a lot of bullets yesterday, and in the end, like the run that he put down was good enough to win.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, Ollie, coming into these final 2 races, we've got this battle of Loic versus Jackson, but we've also got a lot of other riders with a lot of confidence or growing confidence that can really shake things up and take some big points. It's going to get potentially quite interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, they're growing confidence and also like less pressure, I suppose, of the championship. You know, there's these people, Lackey being one of them. Like he's definitely going to be laying down some more heaters. He looked really, really good this weekend, and I wouldn't have been surprised if he'd have won it at all. The way he just sends it into anything and just seems to be able to deal with it. You know, without fear, without like freezing up, or just goes. So and he's one of we could name quite a few there, couldn't we, of these people that can come in and win one of these things. So it's going to be tough for the championship riders, let's say, to get their maximum points every week now. And I think that's the reality of it for them both, that they're in this kind of competition, but maybe not always exactly 1-2. And isn't that what's cool about our sport? We always compare it to F1, but it seems like in F1 it's like the same 2 win most weeks anyway, kind of thing. So whereas in our sport, there's maybe those 2 who have pulled ahead of the rest of the pack for sure, but they're not definitely going to be the people that win the next 2 races.
Yeah.
Although Montserrat maybe has writing on the wall there, I don't know.
Who knows? But I think downhill's better than F1 is a good statement, Ollie, so I appreciate that. We'll start wrapping up. We'll just cover off the overall. So in junior women, Rosa Zerl leads Aletha from Matilda Melton in 3rd. Max leads Asa, but Asa's closed the gap a good chunk this week. And then Till in 3rd. And then elite women, Valley's on 1,804 points, Gracie in 2nd on 1,677, and Tahnée in 3rd on 1,504. And then the battle that I guess everyone's talking about is Loic versus Jackson. So Loic's on 1,629, Jackson on 1,529, and Loris on 1,073. So Loris fairly well out of that, and but all to play for those top 2, I think. So it's going to be exciting coming towards the end of the season. We should wrap up with lit kit. I'll start to give you boys thinking time. And for me this week, it stood out from the first time I saw it was that incredibly Larry Fox Syndicate kit. Like, I'm not always into those super Larry kits, but for some reason that one just jumped at me, and I really like that. I thought it looked super cool. You couldn't miss those guys on the hill, especially those that had the kind of matched in helmet to go with it as well. So fair play. I think that one was good. Go on, Ollie.
Do you know what, on that kit, I think that kit's like Marmite, because I've heard various people saying they either love it or they hate it, kind of thing. And one thing I thought about it was, clearly they have done a good job then, because they're probably not selling that kit anyway. I don't know if they sell that kind of colorway, maybe they do. But the point is it's made everybody notice it. You know, and isn't that the whole idea of marketing? You have to notice it, don't you? Because then you're talking about Fox as a brand, and then you might not go and buy the purple one. You might go and buy a colour that's more suited to you, but it puts Fox on the on their map kind of thing in their eyes. So yeah, I think it's a credit to them what they did there in creating a kind of, I don't know if that's a British thing speaking about Marmite, but creating something where you either love it or you hate it kind of thing, and it creates that divide.
I think they had a global marketing thing around it too, because I was watching the SMX motocross from Las Vegas, and they had a few of the riders, I think like the Pro Circuit team is wearing that kit, and Ken Roxon also had a kit that was like the similar color scheme as the Syndicate one.
Nice. So it was a joined up effort across multiple sports. Pretty cool. Yeah. Where are you going with your vote then, Neko?
Honestly, respectfully, I don't normally like FMD's kits because I don't like pink and I would never wear it. But the ones this weekend that were with blue look really cool.
Yeah.
Like I really liked them. I thought they did that really well this weekend.
Yeah, it did look good, to be fair. Yeah, it was definitely up there in the list. Ollie, what about you?
Well, I don't know if this was an easy out, Chris, but I did have a 15-hour drive just last night to figure this one out. But for me, it's Jackson's champs kit, isn't it? Like, we got to give it to him. Not only is it the jersey, they've obviously put together the whole kit, which is really impressive. And at the end of the day, it is the champs kit as well. So there's kind of many reasons why that's pretty cool. Even though, as we said, maybe the champs kit, historically, their champs kit doesn't always bring you the luck you need. It's still, you'd rather wear it and have bad luck for a few races than never wear it at all.
And I think at the minute they've only got 2 of those World Champ speed suits. I saw Rose hurrying off to get the tyre buzz marks out of the arse of it on the night of qualifying. So yeah, they basically don't crash in it too much, Jackson, because there's not many of them. Class. Right. Thanks, chaps. I know it's been a bit of a challenging weekend for everyone logistically this time for various reasons, but thanks for getting online and in person and sitting and chatting and taking us through the weekend. I appreciate it, and I know the fans appreciate it. So yeah, thanks for your time. I'll love you and leave you, and you boys head overseas to US for the final 2 rounds, but we'll catch up remotely and see how everything pans out.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.